Greetings, my empire. Drezu here, back with another video, and today I want to talk about the impenetrable trait in ESO and how I feel like it's not worth running in PvP anymore. Now, if you go to my last build video, I touched on this subject a little bit when I was going over the stat sheet. It was my Magica Templar build that I made for update 33 yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you go check it out. It's a really cool build. You feel me? You're gonna be a god on the field. You feel me? But in that build video, I touched upon on the reason why I had low crit resistance on the build. And I just felt like I wanted to talk about it in a separate video, just to talk about it and make it clear and why I feel like Impen is not useful anymore. So before we get into this, you already know I want to ask y'all to hit the like button, subscribe, join the empire. You already know, helps me out, helps the channel out, helps the channel grow. I appreciate the support, and without further ado, let's really get into this. So impenetrable as a trait, if you don't know what Impen does, just to show you right now, what impenetrable does is increases your critical resistance by a certain amount, and this item takes 50% less durability. We don't care about the second part. The first part is what we care about, and it's the crit resistance. Now, the reason I feel like crit resistance is not a putting impenetrable on gear is not valuable anymore in this state of PvP and even at update 33 is because not everybody you are going to encounter in PvP is going to have a lot of crit. You're going to have some people who have like 11% crit chance, 12% crit chance, 15% crit. People with such low crit chance that crit is not going to be a factor in that fight. You're gonna have people who have items on like what is it called, Malakav Ring of Brutality, which completely cuts their crit damage in half. Your crit damage is reduced by 50% when you have Malakav Ring of Brutality on, and a lot of people run that ring. You know what I'm saying? So you have a lot of these instances in PvP where you're not gonna be going against a lot a large amount of people you're going to be going up against is not going to have a lot of crit damage and a lot of crit chance. So in those fights, the crit resistance stat is kind of useless. It's kind of not a factor in the fight, and it's kind of a wasted stat in the fight because the person is not doing a lot of crits. It's a useless stat. It's not doing anything. So keeping that in mind, I feel like critical, and since we already get I feel like I believe we get a flat 1,000 crit resist as it is. We just get flat 1,000 crit resist, so we already get enough crit resistance as it is, just to us just getting it passively. And since a lot of these, like I said, these situations where you're fighting people and they don't have a lot of crit, or they don't have a lot of crit damage, the crit resistance stat is going to be useless. And I feel like you can put, change your trait to something that will be more useful all around. Now, what I started doing on a lot of my builds is, instead of going Impen, I go reinforced now. Now, the reason I go reinforced, read what reinforced does is it increases the item's armor value by 15%. Basically, reinforced increases your physical and spell resistances, increases your armor. You know what I'm saying? You see on this build alone, I have pretty much everything reinforced. Only have one thing, divines. I have to change that into reinforced. But the reason I'm going into reinforced is because flat out armor, flat out spell resistance, physical and spell resistance applies to pretty much every fight you're in. Not even pretty much, every fight you're in. Physical and spell resistance is a factor. It's a big stat. It's a big factor in every fight you're in. crit, somebody who's running a crit build or somebody who's not running a crit build, physical and spell resistance is gonna be a big factor. You know, it's gonna resist the non-crit hits, and it's gonna resist the crit hits as well. So that being said, I like to run reinforced on a lot of my characters now because I like my, you know, I don't like the feeling of having wasted stats not just gonna be completely useless to me in certain fights. Reinforced is always gonna be a thing. Increased armor, increased physical spell resistance is always gonna be something that I'm gonna need in every fight in PvP. So I like to run reinforced now. You can even run full divines and increase your Mundus Stone. You know what I mean? If you're running the warrior, any Mundus Stone you're running all divines is gonna increase that Mundus Stone, and just give you more. Help the Mundus Stone give you more boosted stats. Even that would help you better than Impen, because that boosted stat is most likely going to be something that's going to be impactful in every fight. Boosted recoveries, boosted damage, boosted penetration. That's going to be a present in every fight. So like I said, I usually run reinforced on a lot of my characters now. I've been playing around. I feel like the perfect, if you're somebody who wants to still have a decent amount of crit resistance, like who feels like you still need a decent amount, like crit is a big factor in a lot of fights. If you're somebody who thinks like that, I feel like the perfect setup for you would be, honestly, five pieces of your armor have reinforced, or whatever, reinforced divine, whatever trait you want. Then 2 pieces have Impen. I feel like you shouldn't have more than 2 pieces of your armor have Impen, because I feel like, as I said, if you go beyond that in a lot of fights, you're just gonna have a wasted stat. You're gonna have all this Impen. You look ridiculous. Listen, it looks ridiculous when you have over like 2,000 critical resistance, 2,200 crit resistance, and you're fighting somebody with Malakath ring of brutality. All that crit resistance down the drain because for what? Nothing. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in this video. I just wanted to, talk about, like I said, I talked about this, a little bit in my build video, and I wanted to, make a separate video just to let people know my stance on crit and why I feel like, yeah, I feel like crit shouldn't, what I'm saying, y'all shouldn't be running crit resistant anymore. Y'all should, and I know it's a lot of, players who've been playing this game for a while. Trust me, I'm trying to adjust with like the new meta as well. You feel me? And a lot of people, old habits die hard. People like us as old players who've been playing the game for a while, we're so used to running Impen that it's like it's hard to not run it. It's hard to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna run like run it. I'm not gonna run Impen anymore. Like, we're so used to running it. It's just like breathing. It's like, yeah, when you make gear or you get gear, you want Impen. Impen is the right trait when you're going into PvP. So not running that now, us running, other traits now might seem weird, but you got to make that move. Impen is not the Impen is not the wave. I feel like it became less of the wave when first they gave us natural crit resistance, and 2, they added the ring of Malakath brutality. You feel me? Crit is not a big factor. Crit is still in. Don't get me wrong. Crit is still. There's a lot of crit in PvP. People have crit builds. But if you put something into, if you put your traits into reinforced, I feel like it's just better overall, because it's gonna do good for you on those crit builds and the non-crit builds as well. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, man. If y'all did, make sure y'all, like the video, subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think. You feel me? Do you still feel like Impen is something that needs to be in every build? You need to have a good amount of crit resistance. Do you agree with me in saying that you shouldn't put other traits on your gear. Let me know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Even something that don't even have to do with this video at all, but let me know what y'all think down in the comments about ESO in general. You feel me? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Drizzle Empire out. I'ma see ya.